In the ancient city of Athens, there lived two men, Lionel of the Dragon's Pool and Sir William, a scholar who had passed the imperial examination. They were staying in the city as guests. One day, they stumbled upon a small temple. The halls and monks' quarters were modest, and only an elderly monk, who had wandered far and wide, was residing there. When the monk saw the visitors, he tidied his robe, came out to greet them, and guided them around the temple. In the main hall, they saw a statue of a venerable saint with bird-like claws for hands and feet. The walls on either side were adorned with exquisite murals, with figures that seemed almost alive. On the eastern wall, many celestial maidens were depicted scattering flowers. Among them was a young maiden with her hair down, holding a flower and smiling gently. Her cherry-like lips seemed ready to speak, and her eyes almost appeared to move. Sir William stared at her for a long time, becoming entranced and lost in deep admiration. Suddenly, he felt his body floating as if he were riding on clouds, and he found himself inside the mural. The surroundings had transformed into layers of palaces and pavilions, no longer of the human world. He saw an elderly monk seated and preaching the teachings of Buddha, with many monks gathered around to listen. Sir William found himself standing among them. After a while, he felt a gentle tug on his sleeve. When he turned around, he saw the maiden with her hair down, smiling as she walked away. Sir William quickly followed her. After passing through winding fences, the maiden entered a small room. Sir William hesitated at the door, but when she turned and beckoned him with her flower, he followed her inside. The room was quiet and empty, and as Sir William embraced the maiden, she did not resist much, and they became close. Before long, the maiden left, instructing Sir William not to make any noise. She returned later that night. After 2 days, her companions noticed their interaction and teased her, saying, "How long do you plan to pretend to be a maiden with your hair down? It's time you tied your hair like a married woman." They brought out hairpins and earrings, urging her to change her hairstyle. The maiden was too embarrassed to speak. One of her companions said, "Sisters, we shouldn't linger here. People might start to get upset." Laughing, they all left. Sir William looked at the maiden, now with her hair tied up in a high, cloud-like bun, adorned with a phoenix hairpin, even more stunning than before. With no one around, they grew closer, and the fragrance of orchids and musk filled the air as they indulged in their happiness. Suddenly, the sound of heavy boots echoed through the air, accompanied by the clinking of chains. Then, a chaotic clamor of voices arose. The maiden sprang up in fear, and they peered outside to see a godlike figure clad in golden armor, with a black, lacquered face, holding chains and a large hammer, surrounded by many women. The golden-armored god said, "Is everyone accounted for?" The women replied, "Everyone is here." He then said, "If anyone is hiding a mortal from the human world, report it now and avoid punishment." The women all said, "No one is hiding anyone." The god turned and scanned the surroundings with the intensity of a hunting falcon, ready to search. The maiden was terrified, her face pale, and she frantically told Sir William, "Hide under the bed, quickly." She then opened a small door in the wall and fled in a panic. Sir William hid under the bed, barely daring to breathe. Soon, he heard the heavy boots entering the room and then leaving. After a while, the noise of the crowd faded away, and Sir William felt somewhat relieved. However, there was still the constant sound of people talking and moving outside the door. He lay there for a long time, feeling uneasy, his ears buzzing, his eyes burning, almost unable to endure it. But he had no choice but to wait silently for the maiden to return, forgetting entirely where he had come from. Meanwhile, Lionel was in the main hall, and when he suddenly noticed Sir William was missing, he asked the elderly monk about it. The monk smiled and said, "He's gone to listen to the teachings of Buddha." Lionel asked, "Where exactly?" The monk replied, "Not far from here." After a while, the monk tapped the wall and called out, "Sir William, you've been wandering for too long. Why haven't you returned?" Immediately, an image of Sir William appeared on the mural, standing with his ear inclined as if listening. The monk called out again, "Your companion is waiting for you." Sir William then floated down from the mural, standing there in a daze, his spirit and strength drained. Lionel was greatly astonished and slowly asked him what had happened. It turned out that Sir William had been hiding under the bed, listening to the knocking on the wall like thunder, which had drawn him out to listen. At that moment, they looked again at the mural of the maiden with the flower. She now had her hair tied up in a high bun, no longer with her hair down. Sir William, deeply perplexed, respectfully asked the elderly monk what had just occurred. The monk smiled and said, "Illusions arise from the heart. How could a humble monk like me explain them?" Sir William felt a lingering unease in his heart, and Lionel was equally stunned and uncertain. They immediately rose, bid farewell, and left the temple.